Once upon a time, there was a girl named Matilda.
Hi, Dad.
Get in the car, Melinda.
Matilda!
Whatever.
Who was extraordinary in every way.
Pretty soon you'll be able to do any multiplication, whether it's 2 times 7,
14!
or 13 times 379.
4,927. Wow.
She can multiply large sums in her head. So can a calculator.
But in a world where grown-ups make all the rules,
I'm smart. You're dumb.
I'm big and you're small.
I'm right.
And you're wrong.
in a school where the principal
In this school, I am God.
has no principles,
Yes, Miss Trunchbull. Sir. The Trunchbull used to be in the Olympics. Shot put, javelin, hammer throw.
she will discover
Somebody's gonna teach her a lesson.
deep inside herself
You should believe in whatever power you think you have inside of you.
a secret weapon
What's it with the powers?
to even the odds.
No more Miss Nice Girl. Hey, dip face, have a carrot. Nah, you eat it.
Now,
Cookie. You will not leave this platform until you have consumed the entire confection.
she gives power
You can do it, Brucey!
to the powerless, help to the helpless,
Harry, take your head off.
I can't get it off.
and disaster to those who deserve it. From the author of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and James and the Giant Peach, and the unique vision
What did you do to your hair?
of director Danny De Vito, comes the story of every kid's right to stand tall, no matter how small. Matilda.
Welcome back to the show, everybody.
Welcome back to the show.
How are you doing, Scott?
Good.
I am as well.
I'm excited to talk about this movie.
I'm very excited to talk about this movie. This movie is so sweet. Everybody out there listening, my name's Pete.
And I'm Scott, and these are the movies that made us gay.
Yes, indeed.
First episode of July. Can you believe that?
Oh, man. Summer is in full effect, and I hate it. But we've got a really fun movie. Like I said, very sweet. Why don't we go ahead and introduce what we just watched with
Well,
our wonderful guests.
We watched Matilda from 1996, released August 2nd, 1996, with our friend Petey Gibson, comedian and actor. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you picked a good one. So you gave me a list of movies that you wanted to do, and you mentioned Matilda, and I jumped at the chance to revisit Matilda because I really love this movie.
It's so good and also like traumatic.
Yes. Yes. It's dramatic, but it's also like very joyful.
I think it's like Danny De Vito really knows how to nail the tone of this movie because there's complicated and dark things going on in this movie, but it never comes off as an overly dark movie. I think that it handles it really well.
I was just surprised at how much I was laughing.
Yeah.
Last night as I was rewatching it. There was just some jokes. And it's like, it's a children's movie, so the humor is a little over the top, and it's Roald Dahl, so it's over, you know, kind of absurd and dark. But there was some shit that was just so funny that I just laughed, you know? Yeah. And I love that. I didn't remember it being so funny, and I thought maybe, like, as an adult, I mean, I was an adult when this movie came out, but, like, rewatching it, I thought maybe I would just be like, oh, that's cute. But it, like, Danny De Vito is...
Yeah, it holds up really well.
Danny De Vito's insane, first of all. But
and
also,
I
think that comes across
give the 1996 supporting actress Oscar to Pam Ferris.
Oh, my
because
God.
she's fucking incredible as the Trunchbull.
Oh God, Pam Ferris is the Trunchbull.
Yeah, it's iconic. It's an iconic character. Yeah. She's like everything about it. We watched some special features last night.
Same.
And I mean, the makeup situation is incredible. What they did to this woman's face.
They were painting like spider veins into her face.
Well, that was the thing. We were sitting here watching and just going, how in the hell did they do all those broken capillaries on this face every day? It's amazing.
Because Pam Ferris is such a gentle treasure.
Oh, yes. Such delicate features.
Oh, my God. Such a delicate flower. How do they do it?
Yeah, but I guess that's what happens when you get Oscar-winning
V. Neal.
makeup artist from Beetlejuice.
We always die whenever you see bonus features of V. Neal doing makeup on actors, and she has these giant acrylic nails as she's putting makeup on actors.
Well, she's just getting
giant
in
claws.
there. She's getting in there painting like plaque onto the Trunchbull's teeth. No gloves, full like
up in
acrylics,
her lips.
up in. Loving it. And V. Neal, the makeup artist, like as I said, Academy Award-winning makeup artist for Beetlejuice and tons of other things. But she is just kind of like this, just like a glamorous lady. You know,
Yeah,
she
she's
has
just
like
this brassy makeup lady of Hollywood.
she just always has like bleached out hair and like big nails and like she just looks like she would run with like my mom and her pals, you know. And I love her. But yeah, there's really great people that worked on this movie. And so for somebody that's a little older, that was a little older when this movie came out, to me, I was like in high school, so I was just like, oh, this is a kid's movie. But a lot of care went into this, and when we revisited it, I was just like, damn.
Holds up well.
This movie holds
Yeah.
up.
It's great.
So, I mean, there's so much to talk about as to why this movie fits into our show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We usually start at the beginning talking about how when we first watched it and our earliest memories of these movies. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Petey?
I was so shocked when I saw that it came out in 96 because I have such a memory of seeing this as a little kid.
Yeah.
But I was 14 in 96.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, but I was the oldest of four kids. We always watched what the baby was watching.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like, I don't think I watched PG-13 until I was like 18 years old. I was
Sure.
so sort of in a way I was a child, and oh my God, I related so much to this child that just felt like there's something not right. There's something I don't know that I really belong here.
Yeah.
And finding solace in books. I really loved Roald Dahl, so I'd like read Matilda already, and I think, you know, Mara Wilson, who had done, you know, Mrs. Doubtfire around this time too. It just was like she was the kid with so much emotion that when I rewatched it today, I was like crying the first time that like Miss Honey gives her even just a slice of humanity, just a little bit of gentleness. And I think she thinks, oh my God, I've had the absence of this that I didn't even know what it was. And that felt really like, holy shit.
Yeah. And yeah, like you said, Mara Wilson was kind of this young actress in the mid-90s that I kind of feel like she was everywhere. She was, you know, like you said, Mrs. Doubtfire, Miracle on 34th Street. And in this movie in particular, she just has this kind of like melancholy in her face.
Especially towards the beginning, or like at the beginning.
Yeah. Her face, she just looks so sad. And I just want to hug her when I'm watching it. And then, like, the super tragic real-life backstory of what's going on.
Oh, my God.
So terrible.
Her mom had cancer during the movie and she passed away, I think, towards the end of production. And I was reading that Danny De Vito and Rhea Perlman just became really close to Mara and just sort of became like this like surrogate caretaker for her as she was dealing with all of this. Yeah.
Super tragic. Adds to just the emotion when you watch it, and just the look in this child's face, you know, as all this stuff is happening around her. But she's so good in it. Her performance really holds up.
Do I know when I first saw this movie?
Yeah.
So I definitely remember when this came out because I was like the ideal target of this movie because I was going into the 5th grade the summer of 96, I think. And I saw this movie in the theater. And I think that I saw it with my mom. And then I later went to it during the school year at like a kids matinee.
Sure.
And I probably just went by myself because I would just go to kid matinees by myself all the time. But I just remember loving it.
Yeah.
And then I got it on tape and just rewatched it a lot. I really loved anything by Dahl. Like, The Witches was one of my favorite books ever. I remember reading Matilda in the 4th grade. So I was very familiar with the material going into it. And one of the things that I really loved is that it just felt like I read this in the book. Like, I think that even as a child, I felt like it captured the book perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I think, too, with Roald Dahl's books, they're kind of written so simply that they're very easy to translate.
Yeah.
Like, even with... I mean, I know there's some controversy with The Witches. But
There's controversy with all of his stuff. It's
also,
yet another retrospective where you're like, why are you so problematic?
Yeah.
When you really helped shape and helped me be seen.
Sure.
As a kid.
Yeah, true. Well, we'll keep the focus on on the material.
For sure,
It's interesting how it translates from lifting this book being set in the United Kingdom with this trashy London family to just this trashy Southern California family.
Right.
I think that works really well.
Right. We like to talk about on this show our proximity to shooting locations.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're close to Los Angeles. And the Trunchbull's house is 2 miles from here.
We should have done a field trip.
I know. We could have just parked on the driveway.
It is called the Crank House.
The Crank House.
It is also seen in other movies that we've covered on this show. Hocus Pocus and Scream 2. It's Allison's house for the exteriors.
No.
Vanessa Shaw lives there.
Oh, on Hocus Pocus?
And
the big house?
In the big house.
Gracious.
And we did Scream 2 on a commentary, and that's the Omega Beta Zeta exterior houses.
Oh, okay.
Whoa.
Huh,
And it's
I didn't even know
also
that.
Amy Adams lives there in Catch Me If You Can. That's another movie that it shows up in.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right.
But this beautiful old Pasadena, I mean, it's a mansion off of Hill.
Yeah. It's actually, if you want to get technical about it, it's in Altadena.
Sure.
It's still very.
It's
very
on like
close
the
by.
Altadena and Pasadena border.
Sure.
It's pretty much Pasadena.
And also the Wormwood home is in neighboring Whittier, very close to where my parents live.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say it's close to your mom's house.
We can go visit that next time we go visit my mom.
You know what? Let's get in the car.
Why not?
Shut the podcast off.
I
Let's
know.
move.
We'll be right back.
And then we can swing by. I believe that Matilda goes to the Pasadena Public Library.
I don't know about that. I think that library's at USC.
Okay.
Yeah, because the Pasadena Public Library is grand, but not that grand.
Okay.
I think that library is at USC because it's very big. I thought it might even be the downtown
Sure.
Los Angeles Public Library, but I think it's even bigger.
I love those scenes of her being in the library and the librarian just being so gentle with her. I was like, ugh.
Do you know who the librarian is? Do you know whose mother that is?
That actress.
That actress?
I know the actress is so familiar. I feel
She's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, she's just one of those older ladies that shows up in a bazillion things.
She's Ron Howard's mother.
No.
Yeah.
It is Jean Spiegel Howard.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap.
Listeners, you may remember her as Mrs. Claus in Scrooged.
Yep. She's in the opening of Scrooge.
With Bill Murray.
Yep.
Oh, right.
When Lee Majors saves Christmas. But yeah, so Matilda shot in and around Los Angeles and very, very close to us. So watching it is just like, I know where that is. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we can do a brief kind of synopsis of this movie. I think it's just the absurdity of Matilda's family really gets me. I just think it's so funny right off the bat that the way Danny De Vito walks out of the hospital carrying a baby
Could not
car
give
seat
a shit.
with one hand. And it's shot so that the back of the car seat's not facing us. So you can't tell if the baby's in it. He's just lugging it down, throws it in the back of the car, and immediately hours-old baby is just forgotten about in the
flinging
backseat
around
of the car.
in the back of that station wagon.
Yeah.
Flip a U-turn.
So this family, the Wormwoods, are awful. They're terrible people.
Terrible.
Terrible people, but I'm kind of living for everything
style.
that Rhea Perlman is wearing. Rhea, right?
Yeah, Rhea.
Rhea.
Yeah.
I mean, Mrs. Zinnia Wormwood.
Mm-hmm.
Zinnia Wormwood is a style icon.
Yeah.
From, like, the bleached out hair, the fall ponytails plugged in.
Always just looks like she's going to or from the casino.
Well, she goes to bingo.
She goes to
all
bingo.
the time.
Yeah.
So she practically is.
She's got to look her best,
Yes,
you know?
yes. But yeah, so the Wormwoods are awful. Mr. Wormwood is a used car salesman who's very shady at his lot, which we learn later on. They have a son already who they like. I mean, they like him more than Matilda, but it's not like they spoil him.
Yeah.
They tolerate the son.
I think that he is their white trash caliber, so he's not a nuisance to
Sure.
them.
He fits in better than Matilda.
Yeah, he goes along with everything.
Yeah.
Watching the TV at night, which, I mean, if watching game shows and eating TV dinners in front of the TV, it makes you a horrible person, then
Sign you up.
call me Mr. Wormwood.
Call me trash.
But we get to their house. It's kind of this like tacky 70s, looking house. And immediately they kind of age up Matilda to about 4, those early scenes when she goes to the library by herself. They never teach her to read. They kind of do the bare ass minimum to keep her alive.
Yeah,
really.
The mom leaves her alone every day. The soup on the stove. Heat it up when you get hungry. And she dumps the soup and immediately makes herself pancakes from scratch as a tiny
child.
Tiny baby.
And me sitting there watching her going, okay, flour. So I'm like, she's made pancakes without a box? This kid is a genius.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You can do that? I thought all pancakes came from a mix.
Do you guys know what the opening line of the book is? I have it in my notes.
I do not know it.
Everyone is born, but not everyone is born the same. One way or another, though, every human being is unique for better or for worse.
Well, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Snaps.
Yep.
Snaps to that.
There you go. One of my favorite visuals of Mrs. Zinnia Wormwood from the very beginning is her drinking a light beer out of a can with a straw.
Yeah.
It's classy.
Class.
Classy that way.
I mean,
pure
you don't want to
class.
get makeup on the can.
True. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll get it all over the straw, but still. So while Matilda is left at home alone to her own devices, making pancakes from scratch, she makes her way to the library because she does teach herself to read, right?
Mm-hmm.
She reads every magazine in the house. Mm-hmm. And when she's tired of magazines, she wants to upgrade to books. They say, forget it. No books for you. TV. She figures out library's where it's at. Makes her way to the library.
Picks up the phone book and finds library, and she goes to the address.
And this little girl, the young mini Matilda actress, also very cute.
Yeah. She's good.
The little haircut with the bangs and everything, just so charming. Just this tiny little girl. So Matilda takes her radio flyer, and just fills it up and just reads everything she can.
I have memories walking to the library as a kid.
Really?
In the middle of the summer.
Yeah.
Probably just by myself, like Matilda. I mean, I was definitely a little older than Matilda, probably around 10.
You weren't 4.
Yeah, I would definitely just walk to the library.
Yeah.
And hang out there for the afternoon.
When we were very young, we had a library close to us that we could walk to, but I think my mom would always walk us there just because it was not the nicest neighborhood. But once we were in the library, it was fine. But I do remember going to the library a lot as a kid. My mom was very much like, you guys are going to read. You guys are going to learn to read and like it. And we did, for the most part.
Yeah, I loved reading as a kid. The Scholastic Book Fair.
Oof.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, baby.
Great day.
Oh, my
Great day
God.
at school.
Great day. Best day.
I remember one time at the Scholastic Book Fair, I must have been in the 2nd grade, I got a poster with my books, as you do at the book fair. And I was so excited for my poster, I opened it in the car when my mom picked us up to show her, and I tore it.
Oh, no.
And I was devastated. A whole piece of the corner, it was the corner, and a whole piece of the corner just came right off in my hand. And I was like, holy shit. Super mad at myself, just I went home and we put tape on the back of it, so it wouldn't be on the front.
So you can see it.
Yeah. My mom was like, "Oh, you put it in the
learned
back."
restoration at an early age.
Yes,
Great.
and like I was like, oh, "It's like perfect." We never knew, and I don't remember what was on the poster. I think it was animals. I don't think it was like a book poster. I think it was just like,
okay,
you know how they had like zoo books and that stuff. I feel like I was just like elephants. I'm going to buy this poster because my parents gave me money, and I'm 7.
Get me some endangered species in my room.
Yeah, and no one's here to tell me what to spend my money on.
I remember our book fair was always butted up next to parent-teacher conferences. So your parent could buy you books, probably depending on if you got good marks.
Sure.
You probably got books. More so if your teacher hated you. But I remember getting the Narnia box set at the book fair.
I mean, the Narnia box set was legit because that's like 11 books or something. That's like, I remember those book covers. Oh, my sister had that. They were white and those like really colorful book covers. Yeah, we were very into reading. I talked about my older sister a lot, so I got a lot of her hand-me-down books. So I was very well versed in Beverly Cleary and Judy Blume.
Oh yes, Ramona and Beezus.
Yes, I was like deeply invested in the Beverly Cleary extended universe.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah,
what canon?
I mean,
come on,
because it didn't just stop at Beverly at Beezus and Ramona. There was like Henry Huggins and like all the pals, like Otis Spofford and Boots and all that shit.
Oh wow, you're going deep. Ellen Tebbets.
Yeah, Ellen Tebbets, exactly. Thank you. There was a lot, and we read it all. And sometimes my mom would be like, sometimes we'd go to the mall and get books at the bookstore at the mall. And sometimes if the mall was kind of further out, because we grew up in LA, so sometimes we'd go to a mall in like Glendale or like way out there. Not that that's way out there, but sometimes we'd get home and be like halfway done the book. And my mom would be like, "You guys are almost done." And the next day she'd be like, "How you guys going on those books?" We'd be like, "Done." She'd be like, "All right, we got to go back to the library."
Yeah, well, this is to bring it back. Yeah. This is why the library was where it's at. Parents were like, absolutely not.
Yes, yes, indeed. So Matilda found solace in the library, and she wants to go to school, right?
Well, first, the Wormwoods don't know how old she is. You're 4. What do you want to go to school for?
I'm 6, Daddy.
6.
I'm 6.5.
5 then.
I love when he takes her to the car dealership to kind of show her like, this will one day all be yours.
This is what your dad does.
And she's just like, "Oh, okay, you're a crook." Oh, we also have to mention the speedboat salesman.
Yes, such a good part by Paul Rubens.
Yeah, Paul Rubens so there are 2, we later find out, FBI agents.
Yeah.
There are 2 FBI agents in a car parked outside the house watching, because Mr. Wormwood, as we said, is a crook. And so they're kind of watching him because he's got like parts being sent to the house and it's like shady dealings.
And he makes reference to like numerous foreign bank accounts that he has.
And the 2 FBI agents, or the 2 cops as they're referred to, they say they're speedboat salesmen. They're played by Paul Rubens and
Tracy Walter.
Tracy Walter, who fans you may remember as Bob the Goon from Batman, Tim Burton's Batman from '89. So we've got some Batman connections in this movie.
Some Tim Burton connections too, because they're both sort of Tim Burton staples.
Yes, indeed. 3 Batman alums.
It clicked last night when we were watching this. We've covered Batman Returns on our show before, and Paul Rubens is Danny De Vito's father in Batman Returns.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that was quite a few years before this movie. So yeah, and Danny De Vito, I feel like I said before, he's kind of a kook, kind of a kooky, funny guy. So I think definitely he probably formed a friendship with Paul Rubens and that. But those 2 characters are really they have some funny scenes later on, and I just think it's really funny that they're constantly out there, and Mrs. Wormwood just keeps referring to them as speedboat salesmen. He's like, "There's no lake around here." What did she say? Like, Some people like to go on vacation. So when do we have the first scene where she blows up the TV to kind of introduce her powers, right? Is that before she goes to school?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's before she goes to school. And I want to talk a little bit about her powers and this scene in particular when she blows up the TV. Because they're sitting there, and it's that thing where the dad is just like, it's dinner time. This is a family, and as a family, we sit together and don't talk and watch the TV. And you're reading your book. You need to like stop doing that and get involved, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he goes, "Are you part of this family?" And she goes,
"Yeah." What they're watching is this crazy game show.
I'm obsessed with the game show.
Oh my God, $1 Million Sticky.
I feel like if $1 Million Sticky was on ABC on like a Thursday night, we would be tuning in.
I mean, we're heading there.
We're going to be watching it right after The Masked Singer.
This game show and the parents just kind of watching it and just this dead-eyed situation. Did either of you ever see Time Bandits?
No.
Okay. Time Bandits is a Terry Gilliam movie from the early 80s. Mm-hmm. And it kind of has similar vibes to Matilda. It's about this little boy in England, and his parents are kind of obsessed. And the thing is, it's a very British movie. And, like, European TV is fucking weird. Like, off the chain, right? They've got, like, the variety shows, and they have crazy game shows like $1 Million Sticky, right? And so in Time Bandits, this kid is like his parents are just obsessed with this game show, and they watch it every night, and it very much reminded me of that movie. I was like, oh my God, I was just like time warp to watching Time Bandits. But it's Terry Gilliam, and it's this little kid, and there's all these little people in it that are kind of like taking him on adventures through time. It's really wacky.
Is Time Bandits the one with Shelley Duvall, where she just randomly shows up in scenes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she is. Shelley Duvall is in that movie. And it's got it's got Billy Barty and the guy who is inside of R2-D2, like all those little people, like mainstays. But it's very interesting, very Terry Gilliam and crazy and out there. But the very early parts of the movie started off with him and his parents, just kind of being like glued to this weird game show, and just him just getting really pissed off. And I think something in the kitchen actually explodes, at that point too. But it very much reminded me of that. But we get introduced early on that Matilda has these kind of she has these powers, and it's not really explained where they come from.
They don't quite go in the telekinesis like Carrie, but it's kind of around those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all prompted by an intense, like, internal anger.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, and that anger just comes from her being, ignored by her parents and not understood, and she just yearning for, I don't know, a different life, or
and for justice too. I think there's this idea of like when people do something that's bad.
Yes,
and that was the whole thing with punishing her dad with the hat and the glue.
Oh,
she was seeing that he was
the bleach.
And the bleach. We were obsessed with the oil that he was like.
Yeah, what was that?
Like what? It's just.
I mean, that's like
water.
shit that our grandpas would have done in like the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, like Brill cream or whatever that like old-timey old men like stuff.
And also, Rhea Perlman bleaching her hair with actual peroxide. That's that shit is intense.
And she's constantly touching up her roots.
Yeah, I mean, I've bleached out my hair before, and like you gotta keep that shit up.
Oh yeah, Zinnia Wormwood is not about to have like a dark root showing. Not at the bingo hall.
Yeah, no.
Not on her watch. But yes, so there's the he punishes her for something that she doesn't do. Right at the very beginning, the reason that she says like, "Oh, you said people need to be punished, not just kids."
I think it's that she's reading Moby Dick, and he goes, "Moby what?" Which is so funny now as an adult, that joke. But he starts ripping the pages out, which to any child that loved books is the worst thing that you could do. And she's going, "No, that's a library book. It's not mine. It's not mine." And I think that's when he's like, people need to be punished.
Yep.
Well, and also, you see kind of her crazy math skills of when he came home and he was explaining his profit and how he was ripping when he was ripping customers off, and Matilda immediately knew the profit, and he just assumes that she looked at the paper.
I like how some of the cars. He was like, "I bought this car for $300, and I sold it for $1,000, and I bought this car for $100, and I sold it for $2,000." And the third car, it was like a really low number.
I think it was like 63 bucks.
The last car was like $60, and I was like, "What?" And I think that was a car he sold for the most expensive. It was just like, holy shit. But yeah, some of the jokes are just actually really funny. Like if you just kind of sit down and watch it, like some of the jokes are just actually funny. Yeah, so she gets back at the parents in various ways. One of which is putting her mother's peroxide into her father's hair.
Kind of these
oil.
These fun shenanigans that were in the book too. That were in kind of the early chapters of the novel. Right.
And so we get introduced to her math skills. We get introduced to her like powers. And what are the circumstances that she ultimately does get to go to school?
He sells a car to the Trunchbull.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's where we got the school hookup.
And we get those early shots of the Trunchbull just in silhouette.
That silhouette scene is great.
Well, I think it looks almost like Danny De Vito is even on his knees in the shadows.
He's so tiny in the silhouette, and she's barking over him, and you see like her hooked nose. And oh my god!
Spare the rod, beat the child. That's my motto.
Use the rod.
Use the rod.
Use the rod.
Oh
beat the child. See, that's funny.
Right, and Mr. Wormwood is just like, yes, preach. What school was that again?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. This school has a smokestack.
Yeah.
What are they doing that the school needs a smokestack? It looks like...
It kind of looks like the school from The Devil's Backbone. That Del Toro movie. That's kind of what the images that I think of.
Well, it just looks like a Dickensian like workhouse.
Yeah.
Like where they put you if you can't pay your debts or something.
Yeah, it's very, you see it and you're like, oh, I know exactly what kind of hellhole this is.
Yeah. The yard is just like...
Dead grass,
dirt.
I mean, it looks like a prison yard.
It looks like a prison yard, yeah. And all these children, I'm sorry, they cast the cutest fucking kids in this
movie.
God.
I think it's also really
so cute.
I think it's also really fun because I'm contemporaries with all of these children.
Yeah, you're
like they would have been around
kids.
my age when they made this in like 95.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is just like, this was the playground when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Were kids that look like this.
Yeah. So Matilda's super stoked to go to school until she shows up, and she's just like, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah, she's traded one hellish reality for another.
Yeah, I want to talk about the first Trunchbull's kind of early victim.
Oh my God.
What is her name?
Amanda
Thrip.
Amanda Thrip.
Yep.
Yes, Roald Dahl has a knack for naming these characters.
Oh yeah.
Amanda Thrip. It's a funny little name. This actress, this tiny little person with these pigtails, glasses, huge eyes.
Her Coke bottle glasses.
She looks like a cartoon character. She's just like the cutest thing on earth. And she's got
tiny voice.
Their tiny little voice. And she's got these braids, and the Trunchbull is not having it.
Fresh meat. Amanda Thrip.
Yes, Miss Trunchbull.
What are those?
What's what, Miss Trunchbull?
Hanging down by your ears.
You mean my pigtails?
Are you a pig, Amanda?
No, Miss Trunchbull.
Do I allow pigs in my school?
My mommy thinks they're sweet.
Your mommy is a twit. You'll chop those off before school tomorrow, or I will come around. But! But! Did you say but? Hammerthrow. What? Definitely. I'll give you but.
Are you a pig, Amanda?
And I was really shocked at the special features that is her in a rig.
Yeah, they did
just
that.
Spinning her
They
around
did that in
this
camera.
yard.
Her pigtails were like extensions that Pam could actually like pull on, and they just had this like unit that they would kind of suspend her in, and they would like spin her around.
Yeah, they pretty much strapped her to a board with a couple of wires and flung her around.
Yeah.
Her safe word was jelly bean.
Oh, my
if she got
God.
too dizzy, and they said at the end of shooting that scene that she didn't use it once.
Yeah, she was very proud
Yes,
that she didn't have to
girl.
use it. But I mean, can you imagine at 10 years old? Yeah, they're like, okay, first of all, you're going to be in a movie. Second of all, we're going to put you in this harness and like spin you around by your hair. That seems pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But the effect is super. But it's one of those things that it's like it's just funny. Like to me, it's every time I see her picking these kids up and throwing them, I laugh my ass off. And it's meant to be like frightening to these kids, you know, that this woman is just like she's going to pick you up as a child.
Yeah, it just
throw you across the yard.
gets so absurd.
Yeah, and especially swinging her around by her hair.
Yeah, I'm glad it's so absurd, and I'm
Yeah.
glad that the children are immediately like, "This is bananas," like because you know I work with children now, so there was
Yeah.
part of me that was like, "Oh, this movie's inappropriate."
Yeah.
And I was like, "No. This is the fairy tales are so dark, and like this has always been a thing that things are so dark, and
Yes.
the kids are so empowered to be like, this is not right."
Yeah.
That you're like, all right, I'm going to go with this absurdist
Yes.
humor.
I love the little piece of score by David Newman when she's going through the flower bed and she's
Oh, yeah,
picking
yeah,
up
yeah.
the flowers with her hands.
Yeah.
It's a very sweet little note on the score.
Oh, and all the kids cheer, and she's like, "I made it."
Yeah. Because she's going for this fence that has spikes. It's like the spiky fence, and it's like she just barely clears it. But yeah, she lands in the field of like wildflowers. She's grabbing them all in her hands, and she gives them to Miss Honey. I picked this for you, Miss Honey. It's
Oh,
like,
we need to talk about Miss Honey. I love this character.
Yeah.
So Miss Honey is played by a really good actress, Embeth Davidtz.
Yes.
Embeth Davidtz. I mean, you just always see her and stuff. She was in Bicentennial Man.
She's on Mad Men.
She was on Mad Men. She played Jarrett Harris's wife. Army of Darkness. She's in Army of Darkness with Bruce Campbell.
Oh yeah, she is.
And a fun indie sci-fi movie called Europa Report. But I really like this actress.
Europa Report. I feel like I've seen it, and I don't remember any of it. But yeah, Miss Honey is a very sweet character. I mean, what can you say? It's Miss Honey, for crying out loud.
Was reading that Winona Ryder was considered for the role because she had just done Reality Bites, which was produced by Danny De Vito.
Oh, okay.
But she couldn't be in this movie due to scheduling conflicts with The Crucible. Thought that was interesting. I could see 90s wino in this role.
I am so glad they cast
But yeah,
Embeth Davidtz.
Embeth Davidtz is really good.
I was so deeply, deeply in love with her. When we were talking initially, and I was like, okay, movies that made me gay. That I'm a trans man, grew up as a little gal, and when I saw Miss Honey, I was like, that's what I want.
Yeah.
That's who I want to be in love with.
Yeah.
And just live in that little honeysuckle house with her.
Oh man, that cottage.
Oh my God, what a dream.
Yeah.
And
With
just
wildflowers in the front lawn.
immediately takes a liking to Matilda, and it's kind of, I mean, she meets like her friends out in the schoolyard, but it's kind of the first moment in Matilda's life that she really makes this connection with someone. That like not all grown-ups are trash people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that not even, it's not just that she's nice to her, it's that
Yeah.
she looks at her and is like, I'm really impressed by you. Like, she
Yeah.
really looks deep into her and is like, holy crap, you're a miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
She sees what a unique and beautiful person she is.
Yeah, I also like that they didn't do that thing where like the other kids in Miss Honey's class were like garbage.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's not like all the other kids were bad and Matilda was like the one good kid. It's like, no, all the other Miss Honey loved all her kids too, but Matilda came in and it's like, you know, she showed all this promise, and then when she went to her home and saw where she came from was even more like, okay, no, we have to protect this one. Especially from her parents and especially from the Trunchbull.
Oh, the Trunchbull.
And we get from the backstory with Miss Honey that the Trunchbull is her step aunt.
No, just her aunt.
No, it's her mother's stepsister.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Aunt Trunchbull.
Yeah,
I love flashback Miss Trunchbull with the long braid. I loved it. I was like, ooh, chic.
When she was in Butch Denial,
Yeah.
probably.
Yes, she was still trying to.
So I immediately
present.
took note of what Olympic year she was in. She was in the Olympics in 1972. Do you know what happened at the Olympics in 1972?
No.
It's the
Munich Olympics.
It's the Munich Olympics.
Oh.
And that was when the famous kidnapping and hostage situation was.
It was the Trunchbull.
Yes, exactly, right? It was her. So, so just a tragic backstory to her Olympic dreams.
So
dashed.
Miss Honey immediately wants to put Matilda in a more advanced class. She gets shot down by the Trunchbull.
She thinks that she's trying to palm her off on another teacher. Just immediately just thinks all these bad things.
And if she's too much for you to handle, I'll put her in the chokey. The chokey.
The chokey.
Yeah.
Me and my siblings still say that to each other. I'll be like, shut the fuck up or I'm going to put you in the chokey.
I love that.
Yeah. The classic punishment.
Yeah. And I love that the way the chokey's described, it's kind of like, what is it? It's just a hole in her closet. It's just this
It's
weird
like kind
space.
of a pipe, they said.
Yeah.
It's just sort of a form of torture that you have to stand completely still, because if you back up to the wall
There's nails
or
and
even
glass.
try to sit down, you're going to get stabbed.
Because there's nails and glass sticking out of the walls. It's a tiny Iron Maiden for children.
It's a nightmare.
And it's in the Trunchbull's office. She actively throws children out of classroom windows. She puts them in her Iron Maiden. She throws darts at teachers' heads, who are her own niece. She's an amazing woman. She's an icon, and she is the moment.
It's kind of interesting when you look at the casting on IMDb of the actresses that could have played this role. Miriam Margolyes says that she auditioned for this role and didn't get it.
Love it.
Lesbian icon.
Lesbian, yeah, actually,
lesbian
I always
icon.
forget about that. Listeners, you may remember Miriam Margolyes as Professor Sprout from Harry Potter, and she's also one of the horrible aunts from another Roald Dahl project, James and Giant Peach.
Yeah, it's her and from AbFab.
Yes. No,
She's
not an AbFab.
Wait a minute, who's isn't it Joanna Lumley?
Oh, I thought you were saying Miriam
James and Giant
Margolyes
Peach?
was from AbFab.
Yeah.
Yes, Joanna Lumley is. Yes, the other
She's
aunt.
also amazing. There's this Australian show that I love called Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries.
Okay, sure. It has.
And
And doesn't that have?
she's a shitty aunt in that too. Like she's just classic shitty aunt.
That has that has the
funny.
actress from the Babadook, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's
and
so good.
And also, Miriam Margolyes plays the nurse in Romeo plus Juliet. William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. And she is not Latina.
Not Latina.
Because she is playing
not.
like a Mexican nurse in that movie, which I love that.
Have you ever seen that clip of Miriam on Graham Norton? And they're talking
Oh,
about.
yeah, when she talks about
my
like
God.
flooding her basement or whatever.
Well, no, there's that, and there's also when she's
Creaming her
talking.
jeans.
When
Did she
she's.
talk-
Well, what I was talking about when she was talking shit about Winona Ryder. She was in The Age of Innocence. I've never seen Martin Scorsese's The Age of Innocence. I haven't gotten around to it, but Winona's the one that ended up with the Oscar nomination,
Right.
And Miriam is fully just like, I should have got it. Like,
If you go on YouTube, there is a 45-minute pull of all the dirty clips of her on the Graham Norton show where she's talking about like giving soldiers hand jobs and like creaming her jeans over, and she does not care.
Love it.
She doesn't care.
Love it. Well, she would have been an excellent choice.
she would have
for
been
the
good.
Trunchbull.
She would have been Trunchbull. Kathy Bates, I'm seeing was considered. Kathy Bates would have been really fun to
Yeah.
see, and also Sharon from Kath and Kim.
Magda.
Oh, I love her.
That's a good idea.
She would have also been really fun.
When was Babe?
Babe was 95.
95. So she had already done
Another
like,
lesbian icon.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, she's like the Ellen of Australia.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Those would be some fun choices.
But I'm so glad that Pam got it, because I think she's so good in this movie. And there's just subtle lines that she says that make zero sense, are like a calculator.
Oh, yeah. She can
multiply large sums in her head.
So can a calculator.
Just like a calculator.
Yeah.
But just like knocking this role out of the park.
Okay.
And I would imagine that she would be the actress that would stay in character as she was filming and just probably
just to fuck with the kids,
frightening all of these 9-year-old children.
Amanda Thrips just peeing her pants.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she's kind of she's at her best. She's at 11 this entire movie. Mm-hmm. But, you know, when our pal Bruce Bogtrotter gets called up on stage.
Oh, we have to talk about this.
What
this
an
assembly.
Iconic scene.
I mean, this is some like Guantanamo Bay torture shit right here.
That cake looks so fucking good, though.
That very moist. I'm all about this cake.
So that's another thing. Me and my sister Stacy will say we'll text each other pictures of like huge desserts we're having. Like, I'm about to Bruce Bogtrotter this shit right now.
And you know, this actor grew up to be kind of cute.
Really?
When he's on the reunion that was shot in like probably 2013, very handsome.
Yeah.
But he still has those eyes, but is just not as like chubby.
He doesn't have that unfortunate Bruce Bogtrotter hair.
Mm-hmm.
That hair. It's like, what is going on? But this kid though
kills it.
It. Icon. She says some stuff to him, and he's just like some of the lines back that he has to her, dead on the floor.
Yeah.
You're a disgusting criminal, aren't you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Cake. Chocolate cake. You slithered like a serpent into the school kitchen and ate my personal snack! Do you deny it? Confess.
Well, it's hard for me to remember a specific cake.
This one was mine. And it was the most scrumptious cake in the entire world.
My mom's is better.
It is it? How can you be sure unless you have another piece? Sit down, Bog.
Yeah, he really is living.
Yeah, she says something about, like, do you recognize this cake? It's hard for me to remember a specific cake.
But yeah, just this great subtle delivery.
Yeah.
And especially coming from like a non-professional child actor.
Yeah.
Like lines like that are hard to deliver.
Yeah.
My mom's is better. So good.
To this woman. And my mom's is better. I was like, oh my God.
And I love how Pam plays it, that she doesn't even know how to respond to that.
Yeah.
Like,
she's never really been read for filth in the school assembly before.
Yeah, and she thinks she's going to like give it to this kid. Okay, first of all, this auditorium is just like...
I love this set.
The saddest place in the world.
So awful. It looks like it had been in a fire and at some point and like hosed down.
It had burned down. Yeah. They just swept the floor and it was good to go.
Put some chairs in.
Decided the structural integrity was still there.
Sound.
And just went.
Yeah. So then she brings him, you know, he's on stage. She's talking shit about this cake. She's giving it right back to her. And then she calls out my other favorite character in this movie, Cookie.
Mm-hmm. Cookie.
The grossest woman alive.
I die every time.
It's so subtle.
Cookie's like wiping her face.
Cookie just looking like she's the naked lady in the bathtub in The Shining.
I feel like you can like smell her fingernails. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like just without really saying it, you're like, this woman prepares food for children
for these kids,
and there is hair minimum in their food.
And this actress, she probably says like one word in the entire movie. As she walks away, still scratching her ass. Just like she's still giving it, like working this role. Love it. So
See
good.
you at lunch.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes. What a threat.
Yeah. I also love that there's no other teachers in this school. It's just Miss Honey, Cookie, and the trench.
Miss Honey doing the most.
Yeah. But yeah, this scene's iconic. And then, she's like, she gives him the first slice of cake, eats a slice of cake, and then she's like, all right, you got to finish the whole fucking thing. He just goes in, hands.
Yeah. And he doesn't, when he has the cake, he doesn't give a shit. The kids are whispering, it's poison.
Yeah.
And he's like, bitch, get me a fork.
Yeah, okay. You want me to eat this cake? All right. Yeah, because that's the thing. The kids are like, don't do it. Like, don't eat the cake. Like, it's a poison cake. And that's something that, very, very Roald Dahl. Like, this teacher fully is going to poison this kid.
We've been set up to believe that that's fully an option.
Yeah. And, Lavender and Amanda. And then the other, Hortensia, who I love.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm just like,
her haircut is back right now.
Oh, totally.
Oh, yeah. You could
little mullet bob.
Yeah,
you could find Hortensia like ordering a coffee at like
anywhere
Intelligentsia.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from the cool hipster haircut, I feel like I am Hortensia, just like the weird looking kid. Like, hey, you guys.
Hey, I know I'm a lot older than you, but
Yeah. I love that she's like awkwardly tall.
Yeah.
I love that about this character. These kids, like all the kids, are just like they're I guess they're funny looking, but because they all have like these crazy exaggerated features, but it just makes them like super cute. But yeah, so they're all there in the audience, just like, oh man, like he's here, he's gonna get it, he's in for it. He just eats it. He's feeling like he's gonna puke, and then Matilda's just like, all right, man. You got this.
You can do it.
You can
Brucey.
do it. Because Matilda, like that's just like her as a person. She likes to prop up people of when they need it the most.
Yeah,
and I think she's probably had such a crappy childhood that Miss Trunchbull is just like part of it. Whereas maybe these other kids, this is their only experience with like a terrible adult. So like, she's brave enough to be like, you can do it, Brucey, and it empowers all the other kids to be like, go, Bruce.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, she feels like she's in a better place to defy adults because she's kind of been doing that.
This was the first time I shed a tear in rewatching. I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm a big crier. And when the kids started going, go, Bruce, I was like tearing up watching this kid just pound
You're
cake.
Like, eat that fucking cake.
I was like, you can do it, kid. Go in.
I love that. And he went in, man. He finished up that cake.
He licked it clean.
Yeah.
When that plate gets smashed over Bruce's head. Oh my god.
That's so fucked. She fully bashes him over the head with a glass platter.
And it's one of those things that I'm not super familiar with the musical. I know that they're going to be doing it for Netflix soon, but I wonder if the musical is that broad. Like if you see Bruce get his head bashed in by the plate at the end of that scene.
I hope so. That's what I love about this movie, how broad it is. It's just, it's funny. It's fun. So we have to talk about, Matilda and Miss Honey kind of growing closer outside of school. And, we talked a little bit about Miss Honey's little cottage and the big reveal that Miss Trunchbull is Aunt Trunchbull and the house and all that. But we need to talk a little bit about those scenes of her.
Well, first, I love the interaction, just because I wanted to pull this for the episode.
Oh, sure.
Of Rhea Perlman saying, some chose books, I chose looks. Such a great scene.
It's a really good line.
And that's kind of, I think that this is before the school assembly and stuff, of when she goes over to her house.
Oh, yeah. When Miss Honey goes to the Wormwood home.
But I love that monologue.
Yeah.
I really feel with private instruction that she'd be ready for college in just a few short years.
Look, Miss Snit, a girl does not get anywhere by acting intelligent. I mean, take a look at you and me. You chose books. I chose looks. I have a nice house, a wonderful husband, and you are slaving away teaching snot-nosed children their ABCs.
Yeah, I was going to say Trunchbull doesn't take Miss Honey seriously. So Miss Honey's like, oh, clearly I need to talk to her parents who must know they have a gifted child.
Yeah.
And Mr. Wormwood is redying his hair, like opens the door and it's like, what?
Yeah, we don't want it. No charities. Like, we're not buying it.
Oh my
Get
God.
out. And she kind of forces her way in, though.
Mrs. Wormwood isn't gonna like this.
I love that Mrs. Wormwood is just really into this boxing game.
Oh, yeah. She was just like, what? Like, what is going on? Why did you turn the TV off?
It's a match on
But
TV.
iconic monologue that, I mean, this is just that Mrs. Wormwood is just a drag queen. Especially like sort of like her stirrup spandex pants.
Yeah. I think this is the scene where she has the little like clip-in ponytail, like to the side, which I love. I love this
little white trash Rapunzel.
Yes,
I would love to see like a Sharon Needles look of Miss Wormwood.
Yeah,
I'm
good.
sure that she's done it.
Yeah. Like I was mentioning before, you know, Miss Honey and Matilda, you become closer. She takes her on this walk. You know, she talks about her, her past with the Trunchbull, and she goes into her childhood and her father, and that was her father's home, that she lived there with her family. Her mother died, and her mother's stepsister,
Yes.
came to live with them to help them out, and that was Miss Trunchbull. And this is when we get the flashback of her with the long braid.
Yes. The long, fierce, tight braid.
Yeah. And so we get set up that the mystery of Miss Honey's father's death, Magnus.
Because they say it's suicide, right?
Yeah, very dark.
I know.
I was thinking, this movie did not stray from child abuse, murder.
Yeah.
They
not pulling
definitely
their
don't
punches.
hold back with the material.
Yeah. You know, and the whole time Matilda's just like, you know, everything, she's just like shocked at all of it. She's just like, oh my gosh, oh my goodness. And then when she finds out, you know, about the story that Miss Honey's telling, she's just like, oh, that was you. And then she's like, that means that I love when she's like, that means that Miss Trunchbull, and Honey goes, yep, Aunt Trunchbull. And she's just like, no.
Oh my God, the look of horror on Matilda's face.
Yeah.
But I mean, Miss Honey knows something about resilience too, just like Matilda.
Yes. Yes. She had
Kind of one of the many themes of the story.
Because now we find out that Miss Honey kind of lived this like Cinderella style like upbringing.
Just some cute trauma bonding.
Yeah, you know, it happens.
Yeah.
It's a thing. I do love when they go into the house though, and just all the stuff like inside the house.
I mean, living on the edge. This one, Matilda. Like, you want your doll? Let's go in and get it. Let's go fucking get it.
Matilda has nothing to lose. Like she's just like, whatever, dude. I'm 10.
I'm small. I can probably get away.
What's the worst that could happen that has not already
happened?
Already come my way.
I think one of my favorite images of the movie is the Trunchbull putting in all of her Olympic equipment in the trunk.
Into the trunk.
And then drives off. The car breaks down, gets up, picks up the car, spins it around, and then pushes it back home.
Yeah.
Iconic. So good.
And she's in those gray sweats.
Yeah.
I mean, I love a good like gray sweat workout uniform. We've talked about on this show.
It's a classic
It's a
working
look.
out outfit.
Yep.
The gray sweatpants. You know, she's not. I don't know if she's wearing the black Converse. That's like my preferred workout outfit. The full gray sweatsuit with the black.
No,
Converse.
but she's got that belt.
The belt, the weightlifting
The
belt.
weightlifting belt. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, we're not allowed to stand this look, but you know, Sherry Pie did have a really good Trunchbull.
Oh, that's right. I blocked that out of my memory.
Yeah. But I mean, we'll give it up for Florence DeLee, who designed the look, and you can look it up on her Instagram. But it is actually a really fun Trunchbull drag look if you want to look it up.
We'll be doing after this.
Yeah. But that's a really great scene. And when she picks up the car and spins it around, it's just like, oh my God.
She's so sweaty.
She's so gross. That's when you really see, I mean, you always see it, but that's when you really see like the mustache, like, oh.
And this is kind of the part of the movie where it just kind of turns into like a haunted house slasher movie that like Miss Honey and Matilda are escaping the Trunchbull.
Yes.
It's like, it just like turns full home invasion.
Oh, she's fully hunting them in her home. And the terror, like, you hear Miss Honey like,
yeah. I love when Miss Honey goes to pick up one of the shot puts and it's just like, ugh, because it's so
looks
heavy.
like her little arms are just going to fall out the sockets.
Yeah, but like throughout the movie, we had seen Trunchbull kind of pick up these shot puts and just like toss them around and do all these things. And she just picks them up like...
She picks them up like it's a baseball.
like a baseball. And Miss Honey goes to grab one. It's just like immediately almost drops it.
Yep.
I always die at that image of Mara Wilson doing the full, like...
The Spider-Man?
Looney Tunes Spider-Man on top of the table.
Underneath it? Yeah. So great. I almost thought I had, like, imagined it because it doesn't quite happen for a minute.
And it's one of those things that it's that crazy of an image that you just assume that you made it up.
Yeah, I was like, did I make that up of her, like, fully, like, Spider-Man under the table? Because first they cut to her and she's just hiding there. Mm-hmm. But then when they cut back and it's just like, oh, my God, I love this.
And then the Trunchbull sits and starts eating the Bruce Bogtrotter cake. And Mara Wilson's just like shaking, like, oh my God.
Eating this cake like she's like the Jack and the Beanstalk ogre.
Yeah, I mean, at this point she is. At this point she's just like this huge, like unstoppable, like scary monster.
Big sweaty bull.
Yeah. Yeah. And when she does she starts to hear, that somebody's in the house. And when she kind of figures out that somebody's in the house, she is blasting through this house, tearing it the fuck up. Just like abandoned, just like knocking things over, breaking through things. Just like when she jumps over the banister from the second floor and just lands. It's just like, I love that.
Well, even the way she discovers that someone's in her house is so animalistic that she sees the candy box is askew and she picks it up and she does this long sniff along the edge.
And that's some like Annie Wilkes shit right there of that you just see something out of place.
Yeah. I mean, when I lived alone, I would very much, I feel like if anything had moved, I would know it.
Oh, I have like zero memory for anything like that.
No. When I lived alone, I was very much like, all right. Not that anything had ever moved.
Do you know that your penguin points due south?
Due south, exactly. As they should. They're home. But these scenes are all very kind of like terrifying and all that. But what Matilda wants to do is get this doll that Miss Honey left, in her childhood room. And Matilda's like, no, it's your doll. Let's go get it. They ultimately don't get it. They have to leave. They don't get the doll. But Matilda goes back.
Well, I mean, also kind of in between.
Oh yeah, there's stuff.
I mean, she really figures out the shit that she can do.
Right.
Of like when she really starts to harness.
We get the montage of her like kind of getting the powers under control.
Yeah.
Cute little dance scene. Mm-hmm. Love it. Yeah, the power. I mean, it doesn't really matter like where they come from and all. It's just the story. It's just this is this little girl that can do all this crazy stuff. But it's that thing that when you're that age, and I mean, I feel like everybody has to feel like every single person on earth has to have that feeling when you're a little kid that you're just like, I'm not like everybody else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not just us. Everybody had to have that.
Yeah,
I think.
I like that there's no explanation for her powers. There's no magic. There's no inciting incident. It's just like it's got to be true. And I think probably kids watching this when we watched this little, we were like, yep, that tracks.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't lean super heavy in the magical realism theme.
Yeah. And especially that scene when she first tries to tell Miss Honey, like, I made the glass with the salamander. I made the glass fall over.
Yeah.
And Miss Honey's like, no, it was an accident. And she's like, no, look, I'll do it again. And she tries to do it again, and she's like talking to herself, and she's like, tip over. And it's like we've all been that kid in that moment. They're just like, okay, all right, pencil, fucking move. But it's just like, and Matilda's that kid. She was able to make it work. But yeah, I feel like every kid has that, like, I really am different. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I feel like every kid in the 90s poured a glass of water, stood in front of it, was like, tip over glass.
Yeah. Or, if you're a little older, you held up your little pencil on the desk and tried to make it stand up, like
Robin Tunney in the Craft.
Tunney in the Craft.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make this pencil fucking stand up. I'm a witch. But they actually were witches. They were real witches. Mm-hmm. Matilda's just, she's just special. But so she develops. She fully kind of like harnesses like the full extent of her. I guess it's telekinesis, right?
Yeah, because that's when she goes back to the house and she gets back the doll.
Yeah. I love the scene when she goes back to the house and kind of like is just fucking with the Trunchbull.
Yeah.
Just kind of trying to convince her that it's like, that it's Magnus.
Yeah.
That she kind of has the wherewithal to be like, all right, not only am I going to get this doll back, she's not just going to go in and get the doll and leave. She's like, I'm gonna fuck all this up.
I'm gonna fuck all this up.
Yeah.
Well, she had learned that Miss Trunchbull was superstitious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
with the black cat.
There was a black cat, and she's like, "Why is she scared of cats?" And Miss Honey's like, "Oh, she's very superstitious." And Matilda's like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna tuck that away." Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, smart cookie. I don't know if I would have thought that. I feel like I would have just gone in and got the doll and been like, "All right, we're done. We're out. In and out. In and out."
No.
Like a thief in the night.
Not her.
Yeah, no.
She's gotta like bring that painting down from Miss Honey's room.
Yes, this painting of Miss Honey's father, Magnus, who we found out again. IMDb trivia. This is our holy grail, but take it with a grain of salt. Who knows? Anybody can write these.
It's a portrait of Roald Dahl.
It's a portrait of Roald Dahl.
Yeah,
so that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
But she gets one of her hair ties, one of her hair ribbons, stuck in the tree, and I love that. That's just something that Miss Trunchbull's just like, all right. Does she smell it too?
She smells it again. Yeah, she's very in tune with her sense of smell.
Yeah, which is like just kind of just gross to me. She's just like, oh yeah, I know who this is. I love when the next day at school she just goes right up to Miss Honey. She's just like, I'm teaching her class today. But I love when we see Miss Honey when she is going to teach. She's just like, all right, Trunchbull's coming in. You guys know what to do. And just like flips the whole classroom. Mm-hmm. Like all the colorful stuff, all the art just gets completely like flipped around.
It's such a direct metaphor that it's like, okay, fun. If Miss Trunchbull's coming in, we're turning the room beige.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's some sign up in the back that says something about children. Like, I forgot what it said. There's something great written on there about the kids and not speaking or something. Yeah, it's just some like Trunchbull like edict that's just like on one of the posters that they flip around.
Oh yeah, and there's like a list of rules.
Yeah,
it's like no running, no playing.
Yeah. We just saw recently a meme going around of all the corporations at the end of Pride Month. Turning off their rainbow flags.
Turn off those rainbow flags.
Turn that shit around.
They're like, oh, phew, it's over.
We not gay no mo. Get out of here.
It's good while it lasted, man.
Yeah. So Trunchbull comes in the classroom.
This is when she like lines all of them up and she's just like, I had an intruder in my house and I know who it was.
Yeah.
Oh, and she pushes all the desks.
Yeah.
Oh, and another
she clears out the space.
Move. Yeah.
Yep.
She's like, I need room to function right now.
That is very Olympian. I love that.
Is this when she throws the kid out of the classroom?
Yes.
Why does she throw him out of the classroom?
He says something. Or he laughs. I think he laughs at something. Right?
Does it matter?
Yeah, exactly. I think he just kind of chuckles at something and she's just like, you. She picks up a kid, like straightens him out like a javelin and just fucking chucks him out the window. But that's when Matilda is just like, all right, on it.
And this is when it really turns into her Carrie at the prom moment.
Yeah,
because this is when she starts to really like amp it up. That we're gonna,
because she catches the kid with their powers and starts spinning him around.
We're gonna turn this back on her head. Mm-hmm. Send this bitch a packing.
Yeah,
yeah. She like lifts up Lavender off the floor when the Trunchbull's gonna run into her. Mm-hmm. I didn't know I could do that.
They did the chalk in camera. Did you see that?
I did.
They used these big magnets on the chalk of when it's spelling out the message from Miss Honey's father. That they did that all in camera.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
We love practical effects. It looks like a lot of the effects in this movie were pretty practical.
Yeah, it looks pretty seamless.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know they use like CGI for when the cards are flying around when Matilda's really coming into her powers, but I think a lot of the stuff was just in camera, whether that was a product of it being 96 or just the way that De Vito was.
The water pitcher going up, they just did like the blue.
They just painted out the.
Like blue screen and pole.
They just painted out the blue like rod that was putting it up.
Yeah,
that's cute.
Yeah, I love all the kids reading the message as it's being written on the board.
It's so good.
Yeah, but I love that the kids aren't scared of it.
Yeah,
like I don't know if they're just so afraid of her.
They're just like, on the same wavelength as Matilda.
Yeah.
That they just kind of get it.
Yeah, because they're just kind of laughing at everything that's happening to her and the chalk, the erasers hitting her and all of that.
It's like, I think it's like, if you can believe that such terrible things can happen, you can equally believe that such amazing things will happen. That you're readily accepting the reality of both the worst and the best.
Yeah, totally. And they don't know who Magnus is either, so I guess maybe they're not immediately like, ghost. They're just like, all right, crazy shit's happening to this woman.
Yeah,
she's finally getting
hers.
And I think that they can tell that Matilda is just in control of this situation.
Yeah, yeah. So
she's got a quiet power to her where they're like, all right, you're our queen.
Yeah. So this kind of runs her out of town, right?
Yeah. She sent a packing.
leaving Miss Honey in charge of everything, which is great.
Miss Honey eventually becomes the principal of the school.
Mm-hmm.
Classic 90s kids cheering.
She gets run out of the school by all of the children.
Yeah.
So great.
Yes. Miss Honey gets her house back.
Yep.
It returns to its former glory because when we do first see the Trunchbull living in this mansion, it's kind of dingy, it's overgrown, the yard is just completely overgrown, the house looks a little gray, but at the end when Miss Honey moves back in, it's fully it's got this fresh paint job, the garden's the landscaping is all beautiful.
We get that montage to that Rusted Root song, and I just assumed that Rusted Root was Jimmy Fallon's backup band, but that is actually The Roots.
That is The Roots.
That is not Rusted Root.
This with Questlove, different band.
Different.
But I mean, kind of one of the first times that I had ever seen this in a movie, or this song.
That song, and I feel like that song is used a lot now in trailers.
It's an Ice Age
and things. Yes, but yeah, I do think that this was probably an early use of that song. Maybe we'll play a little bit of it.
I love that when Miss Honey's generational wealth is returned to her, suddenly she's like, you know what? I'm an overalls bitch now. And she's suddenly gone from her very sweet, I thought it was a very sweet wardrobe. Again, deeply in love with her.
Yeah.
But then suddenly she's like, you know what? Pink t-shirt and overalls.
Yeah.
Let's go. My hair's a little curly. I think I'm going to pull it into a half pony.
I mean, she's taking up gardening.
She's living now.
Yeah, yeah. I liked just the little character note of Miss Honey that she always had her little...
She has a little handkerchief because she has allergies.
Yeah.
Oh, cute.
Tucked into her little bracelet.
Kind of these nice little actory character notes.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know if that was from the book or something that maybe, M. Beth Davis brought into it. But it's just a fun little
M. Beth Davis when
thing.
she puts on her reading glasses when she's doing the math.
Oh, yeah.
When she first meets Matilda.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I'm in love again. My stomach is doing butterflies right now.
Right?
But I mean, we've all kind of had that special person in our life of an adult figure that we felt like we really connected to as kids. That just felt like they get us. Especially being kids of the LGBT persuasion that this is an adult figure that really gets me.
Sure. I mean, there's that kind of meme now about if your teacher ever said you were a delight.
Ever signed your test, a delight to have in class.
A delight to have in class. then you're gay now. Sorry. Did you ever really bond with your English teacher? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. At that age too, it's like, you know, when you're away from your parents so early, you know, and you're just like, all right, this is my teacher now. If you're lucky enough to have somebody that's really, really nice and, you know, and not scary, then it's just like, you really remember that. But yeah, I wish I had a Miss Honey. I don't think I did.
I had a few Miss Honeys when I was a kid. These last scenes with Danny and Rhea are so good. Of
when they're fleeing to Guam.
We're going to Guam.
And how quickly they sign those papers. Good.
And it's just like, I love that Matilda
got a pen?
is just the kid that has the adoption papers just in case if this moment were to ever happen. She was prepared.
I've had them since I was old enough to Xerox. Such a good line.
Yeah, great.
I love her little goodbye with her mom, though. I think Rhea is really good in that scene.
Yeah, she is. I never understood you. Not one bit.
Who's got a pen?
Who's got a pen?
You're my only daughter.
Rhea Perlman, just this delivery, she's giving me, I don't know, she's giving me very Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That accent, you know, and then the bleached hair and even the look. Yeah. Getting a little like Gene Kasem. But yeah, I love it. Just who's got a pen? Does she have a little lisp even? Like kind of like Audrey? Or am I making that up?
I think she kind of does.
Putting that in there? I don't know.
I want it in there. Whether
right?
It is or
Yeah,
not,
yeah. It should have been in there if it wasn't. But is this even when Danny De Vito calls her Melinda?
Yeah. Get in the car, Melinda.
It's so funny. And I also love that they're fleeing to Guam, which is a U.S. territory.
Sure.
So
Idiots.
the FBI.
You might need to rethink that.
Yeah.
I also love that we never check in with if this is okay with Miss Honey.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, oh, she's going to adopt me. And they're like, all right.
Miss Honey's just like, what?
Imagine Miss Honey was
Okay.
like, ooh, actually, I do enjoy having you here on Tuesdays, but
we're going to... Yeah.
I'm actually looking to take a lover, and
we're going to find you a nice foster family.
Yeah.
How about that?
No, not our Miss Honey.
Not our Honey.
not Embeth David.
Yeah. Does Miss Honey ever say her first name in this movie?
Jenny.
Jenny?
Yeah.
Jenny Honey?
That's
Well,
what
it's because,
Trunchbull calls
the Trunchbull calls her
she
Jenny.
does. Yeah, okay. It's not something like silly.
I think she even calls her Jen when she first comes to her office.
Okay. All right. But yeah, but yeah, Matilda just does kind of jump the gun when she's just like, "You can adopt me." But yeah, I've had them since I was old enough to Xerox. I got them at the library. But yeah, fun little scene with the two of them, and they just sign her over immediately.
The
One
brother
and
says
done.
nothing.
Yeah, I'll be an only child again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he does. He
Yeah.
does throw that out. He's like, hey,
Yeah, so
put a little icing on this.
Yeah, he's in.
But I think that it's interesting that it kind of ends Matilda with her relationship with her family, that there's no real ill will. Like, she just kind of moves on. That, like...
She's grinning through the whole
Yeah,
signing.
like, it's just like she's just parting ways with them.
Yeah.
And she knows that it's time.
It's time, yeah. Yeah. She's 10. She wasn't with them that long. they obviously weren't that attached. Yeah. And then she gets to live happily ever after with Miss Honey in a mansion. And to have generational wealth, like you said, it's a pretty good deal for Matilda. So...
But it's interesting that it had been a while since I've really watched this movie as an adult. And just when you watch this movie and then you think of its LGBT and queer themes, like, there's so much going on in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Of just, I think it's the word disidentification. It's that academic term that they use for LGBT, sort of when you put queerness on popular culture, where that was probably not the original intent,
right? But
that's just sort of what you can gravitate to when you revisit these movies that you grew up on.
Yeah,
that you can just sort of see your journey reflected with these characters.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, just like I was saying, you know, when you're a kid, you just feel like I'm not like these other kids. Everybody else seems to kind of have something going on that they know what's going on. They're like cool with each other. They're cool with themselves. They're cool with everything. And I don't feel that way, you know? And it's like, and Matilda's just like, it's so easily presented how she's different. Like her family's weird. Like she's, you know, she's smarter than the other kids. So she has, like easily identifiable like differences, but I feel like it's just so when you're a kid, you're just like, no, I know something's different about me.
Yeah, we can
but
like identify
put my
with
finger on it.
Matilda's gifts of being unappreciated because they don't really conform to the traditional expectations of kind of boys and girls, your gender, just kind of anything that you can sort of insert in.
Yeah.
Just sort of your personal journey with Matilda.
Yeah, and she's ostracized and feels different because she's like better. Yeah. And you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I think there's that you can feel that as a kid. Maybe if you, like, I grew up in a conservative household, and I think once you like grow up and you find your people and you feel like, no, I wasn't wrong. Mm-hmm. Like I wasn't wrong to have, you know, empathy for all different types of people or whatever, where it's not just like, oh, this is the weird kid. Like this is the outsider. It's like outsider because they're elevated.
Yeah.
From their beliefs of their family.
Kind of that like otherness that we can all relate to.
Totally.
And also this movie is about chosen family. Too. That I mean, even if your family doesn't get you, you can surround yourself by people that do get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, as much as Matilda chooses Miss Honey chooses Matilda.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, even though there's such a big age difference, she sees Matilda and right off the bat is like, oh, you're my people.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that at the end when they're just like, this, you know, the dad's just like, she doesn't want you. And Miss Honey's like, no, I love her. Like, she's, you know, she fully just says like, no, she's special and I love her. And, you know, she's my daughter. It's like, oh my God. Okay. Yeah. It's like Miss RuPaul says, we get to choose our family.
There's also some lines in the script that kind of in 2021 and everything that we've gone through the past like 5 years, but just sort of the Trumpisms of the lines of like, I'm smart, you're dumb, I'm big, you're little, I'm right, you're wrong, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's like something that would come right out of Trump's Twitter.
100%.
Yeah. But that just sort of land differently now as they would have back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Thanks, man.
We try not to even say his name.
Yeah, but just sort of these moments that just sort of you would have never even thought about a few years ago that just sort of hit differently now.
Yeah, totally. But and I mean there is all of these ideas and concepts that we, you know, are able to put on it now. Like you said, may not have been the intention of the movie, but like we as like queer people or whatever are able to watch and just like kind of insert our narrative into it. But on top of all of that, rewatching it, revisiting this movie, it's just really well done. It's just funny and sweet.
It's very well directed,
smart, and just like it's easy. It goes down really easy. And it's like...
Yeah, it really clips along at a good pace.
Yeah.
But the moments that need to take their time do.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And like, I would recommend it to anybody, like people with kids, like people without kids. I'll just be like, yeah, fucking watch Matilda. It's just good. Like, you know?
Yeah.
So like on top of all that, it's not just like, well, if you're gay, you might really like it. But like, if not, you might just think it's a kid's movie. It's like, no, it's funny. It's got everything.
Yeah, it's a movie that really nails its tone. And... also, what's kind of interesting, this movie is directed by Danny De Vito. I mean, talk about someone that's way more prolific than you give him credit for. It's like Danny De Vito,
his producing credits are
his
kind of
producing
crazy.
credits, his directing credits. He did like Throw Mama from the Train, so good. The War of the Roses with Kathleen Turner and Michael Douglas. I mean, he was nominated for producing Erin Brockovich for the Oscar. So it's like
really?
Jersey Films is like. Just like done some great movies.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
His production company,
Jersey Films,
does The Simpsons.
Yeah,
that's with Rhea Perlman, I think. Right? I think Jersey Films is the both of them.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
and also we talked about some other actresses that were considered for the Trunchbull. We have to talk about Zinnia Wormwood and the possibility of Bette Midler.
I would have loved to have seen Bette in this movie. She would have been so good.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Ruthless People reunion.
Ruthless People reunion, yeah, for the two of them.
And she works really well with Danny in that single scene that they have together at the end of that movie, too.
Yes. So funny that they play a married couple in Ruthless People and they're not in any of the movie until the very end.
Maybe
together.
I almost think that maybe they just couldn't get her at the last minute, and that's why Rhea had to step in.
Sure. He probably, yeah. I could see that. She would have been, the wardrobe alone.
But I'm glad that Rhea got the role, because I think her Miss Wormwood is really funny.
It is. It's really funny. Kind of unexpected. I wouldn't have thought, like, who would have been good, but it's like it's kind of perfect.
Oh, Carla from Cheers.
I love her, like, teetering on stilettos the whole movie. Mm-hmm. Like, she never moves quickly because she's always so done up that she's like can't fuck up or move fast.
When she drives in her convertible to the used car lot, saying that she hit the double bingo. So great.
Yeah. The double bingo.
You gotta take your hat off, Harry. This is a nice place.
Yeah.
And Harry's so excited, and he's like, "Well, how much did you make?" She's like, "That's for me to know and you to find out." Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is her money.
Right? Yeah. Totally. She's
gambling
like,
every day with his money. But when she wins, she's like, "We're going to lunch."
It's hers. Yep. Yeah. See? Funny. Mm-hmm. There's something in it for everybody. But I definitely feel like this movie for sure kind of fits our kind of theme, and
that's why I jumped when you mentioned it in the message, that I was like, oh, we got to do Matilda.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
And good. I mentioned it before, but they are doing a filmed movie of the musical that was on the West End, and I also think they took it to Broadway. It's going to be fun to see Emma Thompson as the Trunchbull, too.
Oh, yeah.
And it looks like the stuff that we saw of the preview, it's like a trailer preview of the musical that they use a man for the Trunchbull on stage. It looks like it's a drag queen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is fun.
Which is kind of fun.
That's fun.
Very theater, like, right? Mm-hmm. Very, like...
classic London theater.
Yeah, right. Yeah, very, what do they call it? Panto, right? Or...
that's Shakespearean.
Yes. But like in Chicago, they have the one character. The journalist is always
the Christine Baranski role.
Yes,
yes.
And then of course Hairspray. But
I think that's coming 2022. I think
to Netflix. Mm-hmm. Fun. Well, we'll look out for that. But yeah, we definitely recommend going out and watching Matilda. We pulled out our DVD, right? Did we, or did you rent it?
No, we had to go rent this from Videotech because I do not own this. And I just I had a bee in my bonnet that I wanted to watch it on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So I went down to our local video store.
And there's some good shit on that Blu-ray, man.
Still not a paid sponsor of this show. Even though they did give me a discount when I mentioned that we
talk about
that
all
we
the time.
Plug them a lot on our show. Videotech in South Pasadena.
That's Videotech on Mission in South Pasadena.
I love that you go to a video store. I want to do that.
You should go to Videotech in South Pasadena. It's it would be a fun afternoon trip, even if you don't live around.
Oh, Videotech in South Pasadena?
Yeah.
That's Videotech.
You can go you can go get a picture out in front of the Mike Myers house from Halloween.
Oh my God.
Right after.
I just loved going to Blockbuster.
Love it. It was such a good time.
Such a moment in time.
Just walking up and down those aisles, overpriced candy and popcorn.
I'm just always getting the same 4 movies. That's what
So what was kind of your go-to movies?
Probably The Labyrinth.
So good.
Mrs. Doubtfire. I don't know. We owned a lot of...
Yeah,
owned... So I feel like we only rented... I don't know why we would always rent the same ones, but not just buy those ones.
Yeah.
And you're a big fan of Return to Oz, because I think that's when you first reached out to us, was our Return to Oz episode.
Huge. I don't know why that movie does not get more credit. I tell everybody about that. I tell everybody about Return to Oz, and I tell everybody about Velvet Goldmine.
Yeah.
As I feel like those 2 movies just don't get enough love. Have you seen Velvet Goldmine?
Of course.
Yeah,
Todd Haynes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've yet to do a Todd Haynes movie on our podcast.
I still to this day, I think that my Velvet Goldmine soundtrack is somewhere in this house.
And you
because
just don't know where it is?
SIBO is on it?
It's not on iTunes. It's not on Spotify. You cannot find these
Really?
songs.
You used to have it on your old Mac.
I know.
I think.
It's probably on the old Mac. If I can get some gas in that thing,
Oh
crank it
my
up.
God, that movie, Ewan McGregor's dick.
Oh
just-
my!
yeah.
Goodness gracious!
Hi, hello.
Yes, and but I mean, Return to Oz though. It's like this is a Disney movie. It is on Disney Plus. People go
on
watch
Disney Plus.
it. It needs to be more well known. Firuza Balk, legend.
The Belinda the Talking Chicken. Hi, the Wheelers, terrified as a child.
Yes.
Queen of Shade, Belinda.
Queen of Shade, this chicken.
Or, not Belinda, Belina.
Belina.
Oh, oh
Beline.
my gosh. Forgive me. You're right. Belina.
And then we found out that like inside of TikTok is like this like super hot gay contortionist, like inside that robot.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
Oh, you didn't know about that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
crazy.
he was a children's TV host in the UK, and he was semi out of the closet, and it pretty much got him blacklisted from working.
God damn it.
Yeah.
And then he later died of AIDS.
And he's-
kind of a sad story.
Yikesies.
and he's like standing up, like he's standing inside TikTok with his head down between his legs, bent over completely with that lid on top of him.
We'll show you a
walking
picture of it.
backwards. Insane.
I must know this because I listened to that episode, but it's like I forgot it, and now you're telling me again.
Too much.
The joys of a goldfish brain.
I'm telling
People
you.
get to tell me things over and over, and I'm always like, really?
So we may get to a Velvet Goldmine at some point. I mean, we've got plenty of time.
I mean, there's also, it's Todd Haynes. It's like, you could do any of his movies from his filmography on our show.
But I mean, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers and Ewan McGregor making out.
Oh my
I'll-
God.
I'll revisit-
Toni Collette.
I'll revisit that. Yeah. Toni Collette.
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale
Yeah.
screaming at the TV, "That's me, Dad, that's me."
Yeah.
Talk about a
Absolutely.
moment.
Yeah. Yeah. So we rented those at Blockbuster all the time.
How did we get here?
Yeah. I used to rent new releases because, like you, we had a lot of movies that we bought, and then at some point we just, or did, or recorded off the TV or whatever, and then at some point we just stopped. And so I would just, when I got a job and like was able to drive and stuff, I would just go and like rent my own movies. And so I would always rent new releases from Blockbuster and stuff. And then like the advent of like TV on DVD. So shows that I hadn't caught, I would go and rent. And so I watched all of Sex and the City, renting it all from Hollywood Video.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean,
This industry has sucked money out of us over and over and over.
Yes, indeed.
Good, good for them.
But hey, I mean, it's turned itself into the
it's
show.
One of my favorite jobs that I've ever had was working at my small town video store.
Cute.
Yeah. Called
The movie store.
The Movie Store. Love it.
Very creative. I was Scotty from the
Not
movie store.
just a clever name. Yeah.
Yep.
Love the movie store when we drive through Lewistown. Oh, goodness.
So, Petey, what have you been working on lately?
So many things. So many things. I do a little bit of everything. One thing that's really exciting is I have a movie pre-pandemic that I filmed that's like finally coming out. Turns out when you make a movie and a pandemic hits, the entire industry shuts down and no one buys anything. Which is so crazy. But yeah, pre-pandemic, pre-transition,
Wow.
the last thing that I did is I starred in a lesbian rom-com. It's a lesbian rom-com about cancer, which is like dream. You know,
sure.
to just like star in a gay film, and I did it, and we wrapped, and I medically transitioned like months later. I was like, all right, I did the zenith of lesbianism.
Kind of iconic, though.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go out with the sex scene in a lesbian rom-com, you know.
Totally. Oh my
For
goodness.
sure. It's called The Sympathy Card.
Okay.
And yeah, it's finally going to be coming out on streaming. I wish so much that I had an air date to share with you, but everything just gets pushed, you know?
Okay.
So,
Well, we'll definitely plug it when we do have a firm release date.
I would love that.
Of
Yeah,
course.
and we're on
Yeah.
Instagram, The Sympathy Card.
The Sympathy Card.
You can follow us and you'll find where it's coming out.
Great. And it's just at the Sympathy Card on Instagram.
Yes, and I'm at Petey Gibson. Follow me. I will be chitter-chattering about that because it has been years in the making. But I got to co-produce with my pal Brendan Boogie, who wrote it, and it's been our many years old baby now at this point, old enough to go to the library with Matilda.
Awesome. Well, congrats. Well, we're definitely looking forward to that.
Thanks.
And you do a lot of stand-up shows, right?
I mean, who fucking knows what anybody does anymore?
Sure.
I did do a lot of stand-up before. I'm mostly like a character comedian. I had a show for 10 years called The Mary Dolan Show, where I performed as 86-year-old ex-vaudevillian Mary Dolan, the height of camp. And it was a variety show, and I had a bunch of stand-ups on it. So, and I'm like a Groundlings kid, so seeing Paul Rubens was one of the reasons that I came to L.A. was actually learning that Paul Rubens went to the Groundlings, and Melissa McCarthy went to the Groundlings. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, those are the two character performers of like my childhood and my adulthood. Yeah. I should go where they're going, and I'm a Boston kid. I left Boston, and so I don't know. I do a lot of improv.
Okay.
I guess I'll do stand up again. It's a slow.
But character work is fun though.
Yeah.
And the Groundling, that when you get that like Groundlings like hammer it into you about like, you know, creating
because that's character based, rather like UCB is like, you know, you can just stand on stage and talk through a scene, but that the Groundlings is the flavor of real Kristen Wiig and Phil Hartman and
absolutely
that shit.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, we're definitely going to keep our eye out for the movie. We'll plug that when it comes out. We're definitely going to watch it. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. This was a fun episode. I love this movie.
Love to be here with you right now. This is a delight.
Yeah. Sorry we have our hot, no AC apartment, but, you know, it's summer.
I feel like
in LA.
It could have been worse. We've recorded when it's been hotter. Do you remember that episode with Mike Morgan when we did Object of My Affection, and it was
dying in here,
literally 100 degrees in the apartment?
I try to forget.
They're trying to act like it's fine. It is like the chokey in here. And no, it's
there are springs coming through the couch. But
can you imagine if you were like, let's really make this a cinematic experience
and just not tell you?
Yep.
Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. This was great. This was wonderful. We'd definitely love to have you on again.
We'll have you back on.
Oh, yes, I would love that.
Yes, indeed. But until then, we bid you adieu. Bye, friend. And thank you so much for listening, everybody.
Thanks so much.
Get off the couch, cat. We love Matilda. Go watch it if you haven't already. But it is that time. We have some Patreon shout-outs.
Yay! Patreon shout-outs.
So we would like to say hello and thank you so much for being a patron to all of our wonderful patrons at every level. Amy, Leighton, Shelby, Merle, Jacob, Michael, Charlie, Heather, Muffy, Paul, Jamie, Drew, Jimmy, Genevieve, Dawn, Josh, Emily, Aaron, Melinda, Jim, Jessica, John, Nick, and Shannon, Christine, and Ruthino.
Thank you for being a friend.
Thank you so much, you guys. We love it. We love your support.
Love it.
We would love for you to go check out our Patreon. It is at www.patreon.com/movies that made us gay.
We just sent out the new newsletter.
Oh, yeah. The new, the June newsletter went out on June 29th. How about that?
Yep.
So that means we'll be getting a new newsletter soon, sooner than later. We had a vacation this month, so it took us a minute.
And a new commentary soon.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have a new commentary track, so check that out. There's tons of fun stuff on the Patreon. Additional supplemental fun new material. We also have a new review. This one is from Apple Podcasts UK. Scott, do you want to read?
From one of our UK listeners.
Yes, indeed.
It's mad how many of these films I was obsessed with as a young gay child. Listening to this podcast is like hanging out with friends. Love that.
Yay. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
From Apple Podcast listener Ryan ... X.
If you give us a review, we'll read it on the air.
Yes, indeed. So go over and do that. We would love for you to also give us 5 stars.
Give us 5 stars
on Apple Podcasts. So just
smash those buttons to the right.
Yes, indeed. Let's see. What else? You can rate and review us there. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Movies That Made Us Gay. And we are on Twitter
at MTMUGPod.
Yes, indeed. My name is Pete. I am on Instagram and Twitter at Peter Lasagna.
And I'm on Instagram at Scott Youngballer, Twitter at Oscar Scott, and just Scott Youngbauer on Letterboxd. See what I'm watching.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Until next week. Bye.
Bye.